And thanks for joining us. It's Friday afternoon, maybe not the best possible slot, just after 4 o'clock, but we'll try and make this as interesting as we can do for everybody. I can tell you what we won't be doing is coming through and quoting sections of the Act and saying you must do this, you must do that. It's not about strictly enforcing legislation. I'm not a lawyer, and I won't be going down those, but inevitably we do have to mention legislation. We can't hide away from that, but it's more about giving you direction and guidance and assistance around the tools, online resources that are available, absolutely. Things where you can go away, self-service, and do things at your own pace and try and get a better grip on managing health and safety issues within your own workplace. But also, what I'd really urge you to consider is getting in touch with us and asking for somebody to come out, somebody from my team, a real person, to come out, sit down with you, see what's happening in your workplace, and talk these things through with you, give you advice on how to use the tools, how to implement them, and how to bed them into your workplace. So we'll work through some slides. There's also some animations as well in there just to freshen it up a little bit so you don't have to listen to me for the next hour. There'll be a bit of music and some other voices that you get to hear, but hopefully we can gain through that. So we're going to cover through what your legal duties are, but how you can show your commitment to managing those duties and acknowledging them and meeting them on. Inevitably, we'll touch on risk management, but I'm not going to go heavy deep dive into it. It's introduction. All of this is around the tool that we have called Safety Fundamentals, specifically designed with small business in mind, people who may be sort of less mature on that safety scale rating. And it's a real initial step for how to start to unravel some of the mysteries and the myths, I suppose, that go hand in hand with workplace health and safety. Talk about consultation, about the capability of your workforce. Then we will continually keep pulling things back to a systems-based approach, having a set method, looking at policies, procedures, processes, but making it relevant to your workplace as well. And we'll talk about tools and resources, and inevitably where to get help. Can't emphasize enough that, all this stuff is available online, but no matter where you are in Queensland, I've got somebody who can come out and sit down with you and talk with you. We have advisors in my team based from Cairns all the way down to the Tweed and everywhere else in between. And we also service out west. So online is absolutely an option, but we have real people to back this up as well. Okay, so I suppose the first question is, why bother? Why would you prevent harm and manage risks in your workplace? Well, morally, it's the right thing to do, as it says there on screen. It makes good business sense, helps with you being an employer of choice, but also there's legal duties and penalties. So let's unwrap that a little bit more. For a start, we're not here to tell you how to run your business. You're the expert in running your business. We're experts in safety and the systematic management of safety, just trying to bring our knowledge and apply it to your situation. Our aim is to really build on what you're already doing really well. There may be something in production or in your quality management that you're doing. It's taking those principles and just transferring them over to safety. There's a lot of overlap in other management system approaches towards running your business. We can show you a way to help make risk management just that little bit easier for you. And as I say, demystify some of the concepts in there. We'll bring with us knowledge and experience of safety management systems, what they look like and what they feel like, and how easy they are to build, and how you can put them in place in workplaces just like yours, and how thousands of other employers have done that with help from us already throughout Queensland. But beyond that as well, it's how to maintain these systems and how to keep them running smooth long after we've finished helping with you, how to keep them sustainable so that you keep on doing the right thing and keep working through it. And we'll give you the skills and the tools and support to tackle that. Yet we don't expect you to manage all of your risks overnight. It's just not possible. It's not realistic. But what we will do and what these tools can do is help you to identify what your priorities are. And together you can step through those and how to apply a systems-based approach to your priorities, taking it through in logical steps. Yet doing this will build your capability and your confidence to keep on managing all of your other lower priorities after the initial ones have been ticked off. And after our time has finished working with you, if an advisor comes out, you can keep on doing the right thing with the skills and the knowledge that you've built. Today you'll hear from me, but you'll also see 4 videos, I think it is, that we have dotted through there as well. And they'll help provide more info, give me a break as well, give you a break from my weird voice. And yeah, the 4 videos full of information that are dotted throughout the presentation as we talk with you. And you'll also see many freely available tools. There's QR codes that come up at the end. If you get your cameras ready, you can snap away. There'll be copies of the presentation as well, so you can link through to those. But everything that we're talking about today is readily and freely available on the Workplace Health and Safety Queensland website, worksafeqld.gov.au. You can get it. The thing that I would encourage you to do is think about getting some help with actually using the tools. But if you feel really comfortable doing it yourself, then absolutely go for it. Yep. And at the end, as Tom mentioned, we'll wrap up by answering any questions you might have that come up during the course of it. Okay, let's dive in a little bit more then, hey? This is some of the heavier stuff. There's not going to be a lot of it, but we do have to talk about the Act. It's undeniable that the Act sits there and it underlines everything that has to happen within the realm of workplace health and safety. There's also an Electrical Safety Act as well. So when I talk about the Acts, generally I'm going to be talking about the two of them both combined together. And another acronym that you might hear me throwing in is a person conducting a business or undertaking. That's an employer, but sometimes an employer is also, sorry, a PCBU is also responsible for volunteers. So not employed as such, but they still are deemed as workers under the Workplace Health and Safety Act. But why should you be safe? Well, morally, it speaks for itself. But it also makes good business sense. It can help you to reduce your costs, such as your workers' comp premiums, your work cover premium, your direct and indirect costs that occur from injuries and illness, but also from lost production time, from having to go through recruitment and training new staff and onboarding new people. Reducing costs, always a good one. Wherever there's some variable cost, what we can do, let's manage those. Can present opportunities to grow your business and to win government or council or maybe other large employers there who are looking for contractors who've got demonstrated approaches and levels of safety. It can help with those applications. But also your workers, the ones who feel cared for, are generally more productive in your workplace. And demonstrating that you care about having a safe and healthy workplace can go some way towards helping you become a workplace where people actually want to come and work. We all know that finding and keeping good staff is a never-ending challenge, even more so in the current environment that we have. And ultimately, it will help you to avoid any penalties that might be levied under the Act. Under the Workplace Health and Safety and the Electrical Safety Act, employees can and are be issued with on-the-spot fines. And in those extreme cases, they can now face imprisonment since there's changes in legislation around industrial manslaughter. So the Act, when we look at it, it's many levels. There's the overarching Act, which changes very infrequently. Regulations get updated more and more as they reflect what's happening in the world. But then supporting those are codes of practice. They're practical ways that give guidance on how to do the things that are required to meet your obligations under the regulations and under the Act. All of those first 3, Act, regulations, code of practice, are legally enforceable. We provide guidance as well through Workplace Health and Safety Queensland. Guidance isn't legally enforceable, but it's the stuff that you need to do to make sure that you're falling in line with the things that are legally enforceable. So it really is prudent, wise to follow the guidance wherever it's being provided. And as you can see on the slide as well, they're really important to note that health is quite clearly and specifically deemed within the Act as being both physical and psychological. There's been a recent launch of a new code of practice for psychosocial hazards in the workplace, which is brought in to help employers have a pragmatic and a practical approach towards actually managing that risk. We won't go into that in detail. That's been covered in other areas, but it's just one of a number of codes of practice that are there and have been published to help employers manage the risk that they find in the workplace. Okay, so what does it say? What do you have to do? What's a little bit more detail? Let's drill down. As I say, we're going to avoid talking about specific sections and bits of the Act. But in a nutshell, the Act tells us that an employer, a PCBU, must provide safe work environments, safe plants and structures, safe systems of work, and ways to safely use, handle, and store plant, structures, and substances. PCBUs must also provide adequate facilities for the workers and ensure that there's access to those facilities. They must provide information, training, instruction, supervision. And the health of workers and conditions at the workplace must be monitored as well to try and do what you can to prevent illness or injury happening. So, for example, environmental issues like light, noise, dust, etc. If they're present in your workplace, you've got to keep monitoring them, keep on top of them to try and prevent those illnesses and injury happening and taking place. So, as I said, both of the acts that we're talking about, workplace health and safety and electrical safety acts, make it clear that workers must be given the highest practicable level of protection against harm from hazards and work at risk. Reasonably practicable is a legal term. We won't go into it today, but employers have to demonstrate that they're doing everything within the means that's practical, that can be done to provide protection for people at the workplace against those risks from hazards. Under the Acts, employees must comply with all the applicable codes, and there's quite a few codes. You can jump onto the Workplace Health and Safety Queensland website, and it'll give you every code there from A through to Z. There's many that possibly are applicable for your workplace, but you should view them as being a practical guide. It gives examples of what you need to do and ways that it's proven that if you go about doing it that way, approaching it in that way, you can demonstrate that you've been diligent in attempting reasonably practicable approach towards managing the risks that you put in front of you. If you choose not to go with a code of practice, there is an option. You can go with another standard. Maybe there's something within your industry or something that's set internationally or under some other legislation, but that standard's got to be shown as being equal or higher than the code. There's no way of compromising. That is a legally enforceable standard that needs to be done with each code. As I mentioned, there are many specific codes of practice, many hazard-specific codes of practice, and they've all been designed to help provide employees with really practical information on how to manage risks in their workplace. But it needs reinforcing that codes are a must-do, that are nice to do. You can't sort of just choose that some days you'll do them and some days you won't. It sets the standard for what's required. As I said, all the codes can be found on our website, and there'll be QR links at the end of this presentation. So get your cameras ready, you'll be able to click on them and find the stuff that you need to help you get through. Okay, the Act provides some further details on what duties actually mean for an employer. That they must ensure that they're providing, and there's got maintenance of. Sorry, I got ahead of myself with the slides there. That they must have maintenance of the plant and equipment and facilities around the workplace. Continuing on with the around the health monitoring and providing that safety training and instruction. We'll watch a video now around commitment and showing ways of practical approach towards in which you can, as leaders within your business, can demonstrate that critical commitment to workplace health and safety. Leaders set the tone, and it's a bit of a cliche, but the standard you walk past is a standard that you accept in your workplace. If you're prepared to put up with it, then people will keep on doing it. The video that you're about to see will detail the importance of leadership commitment and how you can demonstrate it in your workplace. You'll hear within the video that what you do, what you say, what you think matters to workers and to your business. And the video we've had a little bit of lag, but the video should be coming through now.
As a small business owner, you play a critical role in your business's safety performance. You set the tone for health and safety in your workplace. When your workers see, believe and trust that you care about their safety and the safety of others, they're more likely to be involved, raise issues and follow your procedures. You can help improve everyone's attitude to work health and safety by leading by example. That's why your commitment is essential to having a good safety system. Without visible and consistent commitment, everything else you try to do will be less effective. Remember, your commitment is on display all the time. Here's what business operators can personally do to lead and show commitment to safety. Make time for safety. Stay up to date on issues relevant to your business and industry. Show enthusiasm and recognise and reward good safety behaviour. Engage with your workers. Tell your workers you care for their safety and the safety of others. Act quickly and decisively when there are issues. Communicate openly and build trust with your workers. Lead by example and show the behaviours you expect from others. Praise your workers when they raise safety concerns. Commitment to safety is also about how you set up your business systems. These systems or practices can help you to embed your commitment to safety in the day-to-day operation of your business. Set clear safety goals for your business and track your performance. Implement and commit to a policy for work health and safety at your workplace and display this to your workers and visitors. Put safety on the agenda at all meetings. Have clear roles and responsibilities for safety at your workplace and make sure all your workers know what they are. Allocate time for safety activities at your workplace. This might be for training, completing risk assessments, developing safe work procedures, or attending meetings to talk about safety issues. Remember, as a business owner, you set the tone for safety at your workplace. What you do, say, and think matters to your workers and to your business. For more information, refer to the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit and resources at worksafe.qld.gov.au.
And that tagline's on pretty much all of the videos. It's a constant theme that there is help that's available there, there's resources. We're going to start diving a little bit deeper now. Again, we're going to be talking high level, not into specifics. There's so many different people here from different workplaces in different industries. We don't have the time to really do a deep dive into specifics for you. But talking in those general terms, saying that when you're managing risk, it's about creating a safe work environment for your workers, but also your visitors, your clients, any volunteers it may be, any other delivery people, people coming from other workplaces that come on yours. If you're using labour hire, they all come under your roof. They've all got to be looked after, and you provide them with a safe work environment. That means a physical work environment, the actual walls, the ceilings, you know, the floors everywhere that you are, the plant and the machinery, but also mental health risks. And you've got to have some consideration as well for what happens if things go wrong. What are emergency plans if something needs to happen and we need to react quick? If you don't have the time always to think about these things when things do go wrong, it's good to have something in place so it takes some of the thinking out in those stressful situations. Okay, we'll move on now to talk a little bit more about getting into some of the technicalities, I suppose, of the risk management process. But I like to think of this as just a really simple diagram with there's something there in the hub, and then there's almost sort of a tire that wraps around it and keeps it all rolling. Risk management, it's central to the Act, the workplace health and safety and electrical safety, it's central. But it's also good business practice, looking at things that might go wrong in your workplace and trying to do the best that you can do to minimize them, whether that be commercially or whether it be safe or with safety. So your goal must always be to provide a safe working environment. That'll include your physical work environment. It should be safe and well maintained, adequate workspaces, facilities, machinery, tools, equipment, and environment. So, you know, reducing noise as much as you possibly can do, making sure the lighting's good, etc. Also considering mental health risk. Your business should have processes in place to identify and deal with issues such as harassment, work stress, fatigue, workplace violence. And just being able to acknowledge and identify that there is maybe the first step towards actually dealing with them. And also, as I mentioned about emergency plans, it's good. It's real good practice to prepare and plan for probable emergency situations such as maybe a fire, an explosion, gas leak, or chemical spills, so that if these things do happen, you've got something to fall back on and you know how to respond to them. Of course, medical emergencies included in that, some your first aid equipment and your first aiders that are trained in the workplace. But a safe and healthy work environment doesn't just happen. It's created by everybody working together. It's important to consider the way that your work is done, the materials and the equipment that you use, as well as the emotional and psychological demands that you're placing on your workers. So going back to the risk management process, let's have a look at that. As you can see, management commitment, it's sort of the hub. It sits there as the driving force that moves this process along. Consultation, as I refer to it, is sort of your tire, the thing that gives it traction and keeps it rolling, keeps it moving all along. When you're working through the risk management process, it's important not to try and race ahead and go into solution mode. It really does help if systematically you work through each step so you really understand what's the next step. As you can see, the first step here is to identify your hazards. So just to name them and to actually own your hazards, to be able to say, put your hand on your heart and say, I know what I have here in my workplace that can hurt the people that are working for me or that are coming to my workplace. Yep. So you need to follow this. Again, it's not just a nice have. This is included in every single code of practice. It's enshrined within the Act as well that there needs to be a risk management process in place. First step is identify them, and then working your way through. We'll get a little bit more detail further down the track, but you should be aiming to, wherever possible, eliminating hazards. But if you can't do that, then there is an order or a hierarchy of the ways that you should be looking to manage those hazards within your workplace, so you get to the one that is practical for you in your workplace. We have another one. As you'll hear, it's important in workplaces when identifying those hazards, consider the whole picture, not just the things that are in front of you. We'll press play and say these things sometimes take a little minute or two to upload from YouTube, but it should be with you very soon.
Identifying hazards in your workplace is the first step to managing risks well. You need to know what your health and safety issues are and how they are impacting your workers, so you can prioritize and fix them. What is a hazard? A hazard is anything that can cause harm. It might be something physical that you can touch and see, like a sharp blade or a slippery floor surface. It could also be something harder to see, like bullying behaviour or repetitive lifting. Remember to consider the whole picture at your workplace when you look for hazards. These prompt questions can help you identify hazards. Is the physical work environment safe? Consider temperature, air quality, noise and lighting. Floor surface, workplace layout, fixed or mobile machinery, electrical equipment, and hazardous chemicals. Is physical work performed safely? Look out for repetitive work like lifting, sustained or awkward postures like bending or stooping, working without rest breaks, applying high or sudden forces to move loads, or being exposed to vibration through machines. Is the workplace mentally healthy and safe? Consider the mental demands on workers, such as working to tight timeframes, excessively high or low workloads, monotonous or repetitive work, highly emotional work, poor relationships within work teams, and limited physical and emotional support from peers, managers, and supervisors. This is not an exhaustive list, but it will help to get you going in the right direction. You can find several hazard identification checklists to suit your needs on the WorkSafe website. Now you know some of the potential hazards in your workplace, let's think about the processes you can use to find them. Regularly talk to your workers. They often know what the safety problems are. You can consult with workers informally or through more formal channels like toolbox talks or safety meetings. Observe work activities regularly. Look out for workers taking shortcuts or if they've modified equipment. These are signs that there might be a problem. Ask workers about the problems and why they've made changes to work processes to help you find the source of the problem. Use a hazard checklist that is specific to your workplace. This will help guide you on spotting hazards. Survey workers about physical and psychological hazards. You might ask questions about what at work is causing them stress or discomfort. Surveys let workers tell you anonymously about health and safety issues affecting them. Review your injury data, first aid records, and safety reports. This can help you spot areas of safety concern across your workplace and identify any injury trends. A risk register is a great way to collect and record your information about hazards. It will help you prioritize which hazards to tackle first and assign responsibility for fixing them.
You can find a risk register and management plan template on the WorkSafe website.
Identifying safety hazards and preventing them from causing harm not only help you comply with the law, but it's also essential to keep your workers safe. For more information about ways you can find hazards in your workplace, refer to the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit and resources at worksafe.qld.gov.au.
So in summary, fair to say, I think there's many different ways. No one you should be relying upon most. It's use a mix of them, but especially talking to your workers. They are your eyes and ears, and they know what's going on in the workplace. But your next step after you've identified them, been able to name them, is to prioritize them. Which ones are you going to manage first? Traditionally, you might do this by using something like a risk matrix, and you start getting into all the technicalities there of the frequency and exposure to risk and the likelihood and potential consequences. They're all great. We're not going to go into those today. That's another discussion for further down the track. But a simple approach might be just talking it through with your workers. What do they view as being the priority? What needs fixing first? You've got to acknowledge that you can't do everything at once. So having an agreed list of priorities is more in line with having a systematic approach towards managing it in your workplace. Okay, maybe in your workplace, you might use a simple, let's find it, let's fix it approach. But to put a long-term fix in place, my advice is you need to follow the hierarchy of controls. A bit of jargon there for you, and there's going to be another video that's going to explain the hierarchy, put it into simple terms for you. But it is a concept you need to be familiar with. It's embedded in the Act, and it's included in every single code of practice.
In every workplace, there are hazards which can cause harm to you and your workers. These hazards may be physical or psychological. The first step is to find them and make note of them. What next? You may be tempted to jump straight in and try to fix the problems without giving it much thought. It's tempting to go for quick fixes like more training, more instructions, or more personal protective equipment to wear. But there's a more effective and sustainable way to control risks in your workplace, and it's also what you're legally required to do. Let's take a closer look at the hierarchy of controls. The hierarchy of controls helps you consider the most effective controls first. It is a simple 3-step process to work out what is the best risk control to keep your workers safe. Consider the controls at the top of the hierarchy before moving through to the least effective controls at the bottom. First, ask whether you can eliminate the hazard altogether. This will provide the best level of protection for your workers. For example, the risks for housekeeping practices can be eliminated by removing broken or unwanted equipment, rubbish, and excess clutter lying around, and ensuring stock is stored safely and securely. If you can't eliminate the hazard at its source, consider the second level of protection: substitution, isolation, and engineering controls. Can you substitute the hazard for something safer? For example, can you remove a toxic chemical and replace it with a non-toxic option? Can you isolate and separate the hazard from people in your workplace? For example, install soundproofing around noisy machinery to contain the sound. Can you reduce the risk through engineering controls, such as using trolleys or hoists to move heavy loads? If level 1 and 2 controls aren't possible, you'll need to rely on level 3 risk controls. But remember, these are the least effective and shouldn't be your first choice. Level 3 controls include training, safe work procedures, warning signs, and personal protective equipment. These are the least effective at managing risk and rely on workers' good safety behaviour and regular supervision. While level 3 risk controls don't do anything to target the source of the risk, they can still help when used in combination with higher order controls. For example, if you introduce a new mechanical lifter, which is a level 2 control, you should also develop a safe work procedure for using the new equipment and make sure workers are trained and are competently following the procedure. The safe work procedure and training are both level 3 controls. This mix of risk controls provides more protection than using any of them on their own. Always consult with your workers before implementing risk controls and keep talking to your workers to review how well they are working. Changes can sometimes introduce new problems or not manage a risk as well as first thought. But if you keep consulting with your workers, these types of issues can be found and addressed quickly. Applying the hierarchy of controls to fix your safety issues not only helps you comply with the law, it's essential to keeping your workers safe. Start at the top of the hierarchy and work your way down, and you'll have a healthier and safer workplace all round. For more information about applying the hierarchy of controls at your workplace, refer to the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit and resources at worksafe.qld.gov.au.
Again, strong message coming over around consultation. Talk with your workers, get them involved, use their knowledge, use their eyes, use their ears, use their information, and see what it brings to you. My advice, and that of my team of advisors, whenever they're out on site working with employees as well, around the hierarchy of controls, is start from the top and work your way down. Too many people go in from the bottom, from level 3, and try and apply those type of controls and think that that's job's done. It isn't really effective. You're relying quite often on people, and we know that people are not always the most reliable day in, day out, every day of the week. If we do something around substitution, isolating, or engineering, far more reliable, far more consistent, and it actually changing the profile of the risk that you're facing. It's required, as I say, through the Act, through legislation as well. So start at the top, work your way down, show you're working out. If you can't eliminate, make a note, show something more. We've considered elimination. These were the options. This wasn't what available. This is why we moved down to level 2. We tried substitution. Just make it quite clear that you've considered every option and show where you've settled for. And as mentioned in the video as well, that you will need to use some training, you'll need to use PPE, but also using engineering controls wherever possible is often a really good outcome in most workplaces. Yep, and we're referring back to the risk management wheel as well that we spoke about earlier with employers, sort of the management commitment, driving the hub. Your next step is to put those controls in place. It's fine discussing those. It's now where action and your commitment comes into it. But also you need to monitor and keep seeing how well they are actually working. Sometimes things that are designed and considered as being the solution might not always be. Sometimes it has been known, and it's a regular phrase, that by introducing a control, sometimes you're actually introducing another hazard, but you need to keep speaking with your workers. And again, we'll get on to the next video here, going into more depth around consultation. It's a strong theme, and yeah, we'll let the video take us through it.
Workplace consultation is essential to managing health and safety risks in your workplace. It's a two-way exchange between you and your workers about health and safety, and has benefits for you, your business, and your workers by establishing openness, respect, and trust. Consultation works well when your workers are engaged. They feel comfortable talking to you about health and safety issues and are actively involved in helping you find solutions. Workers have a wealth of information, and drawing on this can save you time and money. You must consult with all workers, including your paid workers, volunteers, trainees, labour hire workers, and contractors about health and safety issues which affect them. You should also consult with your supply chain and other businesses you work closely with. The way you consult doesn't have to be complex, but it does need to be the right fit for you and your workers. Ask your workers how they would like to be consulted about health and safety. Your workers may request to elect a health and safety representative to represent them and help address health and safety issues at your workplace. Make yourself familiar with HSR legal requirements, roles, responsibilities, powers and functions at worksafe.qld.gov.au. Other options might include regular toolbox talks, face-to-face safety chats, and regular communication about safety through emails or on notice boards. Your workers could use feedback forms to let you know about health and safety issues or suggest ways things can be improved. If a worker has gone to the trouble of letting you know about a health and safety issue, always close the loop and tell them what action you're going to take. As your business continues to change over time, make sure you review how you're consulting with workers to make sure it's still the right fit for your changing business. Remember, find a process that works for you, your workers, and your business. Consult with your workers when you are identifying health and safety hazards and deciding how to control the risks. There are changes that may affect their health and safety when you are deciding on health and safety processes for your business. Empower your workers to get involved in solving health and safety issues. They will be more likely to follow any new procedures that they help to develop. A safer workplace is achieved when everyone works together. Good workplace consultation practices not only help you comply with the law, but are also essential to keeping your workers healthy and safe. For more information about consultation at your workplace, refer to the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit and resources at worksafe.qld.gov.au.
So again, that clear message coming through once again, that it's important to make sure that your workers are engaged, that they really feel comfortable talking with you and bringing up issues around health and safety, whether that be physical or psychological, and that they're also involved in being a part of designing the solutions. You get their buy-in, then they're more likely to adopt it and to keep putting those things in place because they feel that they've been a part of and involved in coming up with the answers. Okay, we're going to move on. We're progressing nicely. Worker capability, another one that involves many things. It's the skills, the training, the supervision, and everything that's provided to your workplace. The video will talk about information. It'll talk about providing workers with training, providing them with supervision and instruction. Sorry to repeat myself there, and how all of that might fall within an initial induction package, but how that keeps going on and on through the time that you're with your business. It's not just a set and forget, that it's something you just do once. It's about looking after your workforce and making sure that they're capable of working safe and providing them with the adequate resources to do that, whether that be machinery, but it's also the training and everything else that goes around operating those things in your workplace.
Workers' capability to do their job safely is critical to any successful health and safety system. Workers include paid workers, labour hire workers, trainees, contractors, and volunteers. Having a workforce that is well trained and capable reduces the risk of injuries, increases efficiency and productivity, provides workers new skills and knowledge, and values their development. It's also the law. Business operators have a primary duty of care under work health and safety laws to provide workers with the information, training, instruction, and supervision they need to work safely. Start with an induction. It's important to talk to new workers as early as you can about health and safety at your workplace. Inductions help you start the conversation and show your commitment.
An induction checklist makes sure the training is consistent for all new workers, and it can be kept on file as a training record.
If you don't have one already, you can download an example from our website. Induction refreshers are also a good idea for any long-term workers or workers returning from long absences, as it may have been a while since they were inducted. Here's a few tips to get started with your workplace induction. Get your new workers familiar with their workplace, their colleagues and supervisor, and the contact details for the workplace's first aid officer, fire wardens, return to work coordinator, and your health and safety representatives if they're appointed. Introduce and discuss your business's health and safety rules and procedures. Include your emergency and evacuation procedures and identify assembly point locations. Inductions are also a good time to tell new workers about programs to help their physical and mental health and well-being. Confirm your workers understand the induction by using a quick quiz or an informal check-in. Next, you'll need to decide what specific training your workers will need to do their job safely. A training needs assessment will help get you started. In most cases, their training will be a mix of on-the-job, task-specific training coupled with ongoing supervision. In some cases, they may require formal training through a registered training organisation. Here's a few prompts to help you decide what training your workers need beyond their initial induction. Do your workers perform any high-risk work, requiring them to hold an appropriate and valid licence? If the answer is yes, Make sure they hold the appropriate and valid license and that you keep copies on file. Remember that your licensed workers' skills also need to remain current. It's a good idea to undertake verification of their competency at least annually. If you're not sure of what type of work requires a license, refer to the WorkSafe Queensland website. Do your workers operate machines and equipment such as power tools or a press or mechanical aids to help lift and move goods? Do your workers work with chemicals or are they exposed to biological hazards? Examples might include cleaning tasks or providing personal care. Do your workers engage with clients or members of the public where they're likely to be exposed to difficult interactions or aggressive behaviour? Have you developed any safe work procedures at your workplace that you rely on workers to follow? Answering these questions will help you decide on the specific training your workers need. You'll then need to consider how the training will be delivered. Options include formal training through a registered training organisation or in-house training delivered by a competent person. A competent person will have the appropriate knowledge, skills, training, qualifications, and experience. Your in-house safety training should be guided by relevant codes of practice, standards, your manufacturer and supplier's advice, or skilled technical specialists. Some simple tips on training. Training and instruction should be easy to understand and match your workers' language, literacy, and numeracy skills. Diagrams or pictures can help communicate messages clearly. Don't assume the training has been understood. Check they understand what's been taught and observe workers to make sure they're competent before performing work unsupervised. You may need to keep working with them and support them until they can safely perform the work by themselves. Regular supervision or ongoing spot checks is good practice. It helps to make sure workers are still following your safety procedures and aren't taking shortcuts after they've been trained. Keep records of all safety training, including inductions, on-the-job training, formal training, verification of a person's competency, and any high-risk work licenses your workers hold. Keep records of any supervision, competency checks, and regular spot checks you've done too. A training register or log is a great way to do this. To ensure worker capability at your workplace, refer to the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit and resources at worksafe.qld.gov.au.
Okay, a lot of information. And we've gone through a lot, haven't we? And you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, especially coming to the end of a busy week. It's Friday afternoon, but help is out there, I promise you. There's resources online, there's staff available who are more than happy to come out and sit with you. We've got a dedicated team of advisors. We can either discuss items over the phone, through Teams or Zoom, or actually come out onto your work site. If you were to jump on the website, you'll see the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit. It's self-paced, self-guided. You can click on the different boxes there around your commitment, consultation, managing roles, etc. And it'll get you to self-assess, ask you what you're doing around these different areas. So the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit was designed for small businesses, and it provides a nice one-stop shop for the fundamental building blocks to understand your workplace health and safety legal duties, comply with the law, and create a safer, healthier, and more successful business. The toolkit, as you can see there, made up of 7 modules covering fundamental elements of a workplace health and safety management system. These modules are based on international standards. It's 45001, 4801, etc. But we've scaled it down and made it more suitable and consistent for the needs of small businesses here in Queensland. But it's the same approach no matter where you were throughout the state, throughout the country, or throughout the states. These are the building blocks for having a safety management system. 7 modules are, as you can see, commitment, consultation, managing risk, reporting worker capability, safe working environment, and also workers' compensation and rehab and return to work and recovery at work. You do the self-assessment, identify where you're doing well, where maybe you're not doing so well, get resources, get a better understanding. There's more explanation when you start clicking on those tiles, and it takes you deeper and deeper into the website. It provides guidance on how you can improve tools, templates, and the additional resources that you've seen that have been dotted throughout this presentation. And you can also access the website by using the links or the QR codes that we're going to be providing to you at the end of the session. But it is very much a one-stop shop. either you can self-service, by all means reach out to us, and we can help you with that service as well. Okay. A little bit of shock and awe there. There's some of the resources that are available, not all of the resources, but it gives you great templates that come from a trusted place. They've been designed and approved by the regulator, by Workplace Health and Safety Queensland, and they're a great starting block in which to implement and put them into place within your own business. Just excuse me. These aren't just templates. You don't rigidly have to follow them, but it sets a real good indication as to the sort of thing that if you were to develop your own templates or look at buying things in from other providers, these really are the minimums that you're looking for, and they're freely available. Okay, as I mentioned, help is available. You've got your cameras ready, your phones ready, you can snap away on those. They'll be available later. Everything here will be up on the website as well from WHSQ and from Desbert, but it'll take you through to the Safety Fundamentals Toolkit. The particular program that I manage, the Injury Prevention and Management Program, some of you may have heard of that or even been involved. Just to break it down, we use IPAM as an acronym. It's a lot easier than Injury Prevention and Management. And if you wish to register, just go straight out. Then you can click on that through the QR code and register direct, and you get one of my team ready to come out and help work with you. Or for the general website, the fourth one that's on there, the purple, that'll take you where you'll be able to enter into the search bar and find things like codes of practice and any other guidance material that you might be looking for. Almost coming to the end, you might be relieved. You can contact us in traditional ways through just emailing workplace assistance at oir.qld.gov.au. That'll come direct through to my my unit's general mailbox, and we'll get a response out to you. I encourage you to subscribe to eSafe e-bulletins, so you get automated newsletters that come out on a regular basis from Safe Work Queensland, and also follow us on the social medias through Facebook, where some of you may have found out about the event that was being hosted today.